This class is Capo Creativity. We are going to be talking about some specific things. My goal for today is that everybody in this class, I'm such a nerdy teacher, I say class. What is this, a workshop? Okay, everybody in this workshop understands how to find any capo location for any key. So if you are playing at church on Sunday and it says you're in the key of E flat, you know your 5 options immediately. And that capo chart there is great. So the wonderful thing about this session is you don't have to be memorizing anything in here. If you have those 2 PDFs, you have everything you need. Okay, those are great references. Obviously, over time, we want to be speaking this language and be fluent in this language, but you've got all that stuff there. So that's the main goal. The second goal is to make our chord voicings. Chord voicing is just a fancy way of saying how the notes are stacked up across the 6 strings of the guitar. But making our chord voicings more interesting than just a basic, G, C, D, whatever we're playing, okay? I really believe and I'll just say this, if you play an instrument on stage at church, you are a worship leader, not just a worship musician. And I do believe we were created in the image of God, and I believe if we're created in the image of a creator, we were created to create. So I think it's important to try to become a little more creative with the chord voicings that we're using, even if it's just a simple 1, 4, 5, 6 in the key of G or the key of C. So hopefully by the end of this session, I wouldn't say hopefully, it will happen. You will feel confident with where to place your capo for any key. And you will feel confident that you have the ability, maybe not memorization of everything, but you have the ability to make chords more creative, okay? Again, I'll save a little ending Q&A time for that. And I'll be at the conference all week, so if you have questions on anything, just find me. Even if I'm walking in the hallway and my head is on my phone, just stop me and say, you have a question on something, I'm happy to answer anything, okay? So the things that we're going to be talking about today, I want to talk about what the purpose of the capo actually is. Most people have one idea of the capo in their head when there's, I believe, a greater purpose of the capo. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about key versus key shape. And we're going to be talking about something called the caged blueprint. Has anybody in here ever studied the cage system or learned anything about the cage system? Has anybody heard about the cage system? Okay, wonderful. I actually have a cage system book on my website. If you click that video courses tab, if you are it's a 100-page cage textbook. It's called Simplifying the Cage System. If you are interested in that, you can purchase that there get the PDF download of it. But we're going to talk about the cage blueprint. So I will be talking a little bit about cage system stuff. I'm not going to break down the entire cage system today. There's so much with it. But if you are interested in more of that, I have a lot of video courses on the cage system. You can look at those links and everything through that landing page. But then what we're also going to be talking about are the 5 capo locations for any key, which was what that capo chart was showing there a while ago, and the new voicings, and I have a tab form of that of any key. So we'll be talking about all of these things in about an hour's time. So we're gonna get into it, okay? So let's start off here first. Tell me, who in here is an acoustic rhythm guitar player? Wonderful. Who in here would refer to themselves as a rhythm electric guitar player? Very good. And do we have any mainly lead guitar players in here? That's mainly what you do. Anybody that does either 2 or 3 of them? Yeah. Okay, a little bit of everything. Wonderful. Very, very good. So this is designed to be beneficial for everybody. I will say tomorrow I'm doing a lead guitar mastery class in here at 2:15. Even if you are not a lead guitar player, that will be very beneficial because we're going to be talking about becoming fluent in the language of music and how to actually speak it on the instrument. I have a lot of PDFs that I'm going to be giving away tomorrow with that. So if you are interested in that, 2:15 will be there. And when in doubt, I'll be posting everything to YouTube if you have to dip out early on anything, okay? So does anybody have an idea of what the purpose of the capo is? Anybody want to say what the purpose of the capo is? Yeah?
Changes the pitch of the guitar.
Changes the pitch of the guitar. Anybody else? Any other way that you've thought about it in your head? Yes?
Allows us to play open chord shapes.
Wonderful. Very good. Very good. And those 2 things right there is kind of the blending of what the purpose of the capo is. A lot of people think the only purpose of the capo is to change the key. So if I was playing a song in the key of G, and then I capoed up 1, I'm now in the key of A flat or G sharp. That's how most people would use the capo. Okay, so then I capo up. Now I'm in A flat or G sharp. Yep, absolutely. But what I really believe is the most beneficial aspect of the capo is it gives you the ability to play any song in any key in the 5 key shape. So it will always allow you to play something in an open key shape, meaning an open key shape is where the 1 chord will always be open. Now on the guitar, let me see if I have yes, I do have a guitar pick. So I went to school, I got my degree in classical guitar, and it was like 4.5 years of never having a pick on me, because if I was in my professor's office and a pick like fell out of my pocket or something, it was the end of the world. So there are some times I just don't have a pick on me. And you know what, let me tune this up real quick. But an open key, or an open key shape, is where the 1 chord is a naturally open chord. So on the guitar, we actually have only 5 major chords, and we're thinking major keys today, okay? On the guitar, we only have 5 naturally open major chords on the guitar. C, A, G, E, and D. So our capo locations will be built around that. But that's really what the capo is designed for. It's designed to allow you to play any song in any key, if I'm in the key of G flat, E flat, F, whatever it is, and convert it into a purely open position, a purely open shape. So that way you don't have to play bar chords. And it's not, this is like a common misconception or the stereotype of the capo is that it is a crutch. If you're playing with the capo, it's because you don't know how to play bar chords. I know how to play bar chords. I have done this, this is not my first rodeo. I know how to play bar chords, but I never play bar chords. I very rarely play bar chords, because even if you're a very accomplished guitar player and you have wonderful technique and you have a great guitar, our fingers are not perfect. They do not look like a perfect capo. So if I'm playing, like even if I was playing a G chord in this C bar shape, that actually sounded okay. But my finger isn't perfect. And if your guitar, I live in Florida, and even if I get my guitar set up, the humidity from the car to here, everything has changed. And so the intonation can get a little off. So nothing's perfect. This is wood and steel, and nothing's going to be perfect when we're living in these elements. And so even if you're a great guitar player, there might be some buzzes or mutes or slightly out of tune when you are smashing your index finger down. If I have time, I will show you the trick to not having pain in your hand for bar chords. I'll show you that at the end if I have time. If I don't mention it, someone will remind me before we leave, and I will not leave this room. Oh, I will do that. I'll say that. I will not leave this room until I teach you that, okay? Just someone remind me the bar chord hack before we leave. If I need to teach in the hall, we'll do that. So anyway, if I'm going to be recording on a session or playing live or whatever it is, especially an acoustic guitar, I am always using a capo and capoing up, because I don't want things to be sounding like they're out of tune. It's always going to sound better, especially if you're recording on something. So it's not just a crutch. It's going to allow you to be more in control. Understand. A lot of people don't study capo theory because they're like, oh, I don't need the capo. I can play all of my bar chords. But if you can humble yourself and study capo theory, you will be more in control with any key that you're actually playing in. Okay? So I want to talk about first this concept of key versus key shape. I've been throwing around the word key shape a little bit, like the open key shapes and what that actually is. So let's talk about a key first. Does anybody know what a key actually is? If you were going to define a key. It's one of these things where you hear it all the time and you're like, what actually is it?
A note. An arrangement of notes.
Yeah, that's very good. That's the closest I've gotten in a while. That's good. The way that I define a key, I'm sure we've heard of it if you've been on Planning Center, the thing in the green circle, right? A key is basically a musical environment or ecosystem in which a song is living in. I will talk a lot about this tomorrow in the lead guitar class, but if we can think about it like that, it might help. In our world, we have different environments and different ecosystems. There is a certain set of rules that everything needs to abide by to survive, for life to survive in that ecosystem or that environment. So in a musical key, a musical environment, a musical ecosystem, the set of rules is the key's major scale. Meaning everything that is in that song, every note of the guitar parts, every note of the bass line, the keyboard part, the vocal melody, is abiding by the rule of the keys major scale. So if we're playing a song in the key of C, that means everything in that song is coming from the 7 notes of the C major scale. That is really what it means when you're playing a song in a certain key. Now, music is a creative realm, so we have artists that break these rules, thank God, to get things really interesting. So, for example, Imagine by John Lennon is in the key of C, but there is a G sharp in the chorus. There's an E major chord in the chorus. It is a broken rule. It is still in the key of C, but that is what we would refer to as non-diatonic. Diatonic is a fancy word for saying there are no broken rules. Worship music is probably 99.8% diatonic, okay? So if you understand this concept of key, you should be fine. So if I was playing a song in the key of C, I will be using chords that are in the key of C, okay? Like if you've heard of the Nashville number system chords, all that, I'm using it in the key of C. So that is a key. Does that make sense? Okay. A key shape is something that the guitar is really the only instrument that will deal with this idea of a key shape. A key shape is whatever shape the 1 chord is in. Now, when we throw around the term shape for guitar players, it really means what the fingers look like. Whether it's a bar or a capo, like what the fingers look like. So a key shape is what the shape of the 1 chord is. It's kind of like, for lack of a better way of putting it, it's the key you're pretending to play in. Okay, so if I was playing a song in the key of B flat, my 1 chord is B flat, my 4 chord is E flat, my 5 chord is F, my 6 chord is G minor. If I put capo on the 3rd fret, that is still a B flat chord, that is still my 4 chord of E flat, that is still my 5 chord of F, that is still my minor 6 chord of G minor. But it doesn't look like I'm in B flat. It looks like I'm in G, right? So that is the key shape. That is the key shape of G. I'm playing in the key of B flat, but I'm playing in the key shape of G. Makes sense so far? Yes. Perfect. Okay, very, very good. If you understand that, that's the basis of everything we're doing here. So on what we want to do today is whenever you see, because I really believe teaching something is really equipping you with solutions. So when you are looking on Planning Center, when you are looking at the song that you're playing and it says a key, we want to immediately be able to understand what my options are for capo placement. We don't want to think, okay, I'm playing this in B flat. What happens when I put capo on 1? Where can I go? What happens when I put capo on 2? We don't want to have guesswork. We also don't want to have complicated math formulas in our head. So we don't want this to happen where we think, okay, I'm in the key of B flat, but I want to play it like it's in G. So the root of G is on the 3rd fret. The root of B flat is on the 6th fret. 6 minus 3 is 3. I'm going to put my capo on. We don't need to be doing this. Now, I love math. My only dream in life was to be a math teacher, but I gave it up and did something practical like play guitar. But I love math. I absolutely love it. So I'm fine with that, but I love formulas a little bit more. So this is going to show you basically the formula or the way to always be in control and know the 5 key shapes. On the guitar, we have 5 possible key shapes of playing for any song, in any key. We also have 5 capo locations. So if I was playing a song in the key of B flat, I have 5 capo locations, which will match my 5 key shapes. So let's talk about our key shapes. Our 5 key shapes are directly related to the 5 caged system shapes. Now, let me say that one more time. Our 5 key shapes are directly related to the 5, what did I say? Capo location. I didn't say, okay, let me say it this way. Our 5 key shapes and capo locations are directly related to the 5 cage system shapes. I had to say that right. My gosh. Anyway, so the cage system shapes are based off of the 5 shapes of C, A, G, E, D. So even if you've never learned the cage system before, all you need to understand is C, A, G, E, and D. Those are open. So we have 5 key shapes and 5 capo locations based around those 5 cage system shapes of C, A, G, E, and D. Okay, good so far? I will explain more. Yep.
So you said each key has 5 capo position?
Yes, any key. And if I'm in the key of B flat, if I'm in the key of G, if I'm in the key of G flat or F sharp, every one is going to have 5. The beautiful thing about what we're going to do today is if you can understand this for one key, you understand it for any key. Okay, that's what I'm talking about with formula and fluency. It's a formula for everything. Okay, so this is where it gets really exciting. So how do we find these 5 capo locations and these 5 key shapes? Okay, and we still are good with what a key shape is, where it looks like it's what I'm playing in, okay? And I will say this, you can have a no capo key shape for, if I'm playing in the key of G, this is the key of G, but also the key shape of G. That will match, okay? So how do we find our 5 capo locations, which will give us the 5 key shapes for any song? We have something called the caged blueprint, okay? I have a great video on my YouTube channel with the premier guitar stuff. If you just search caged blueprint, Caitlin, all this stuff will pop up. And it's like much longer than what I'm going to get into. But the caged blueprint is basically just the 5 cage system shapes of the 1 chord of whatever key you're in. And I will explain this here. Again, I have so many. If you just go on my Instagram page, you will find a video of me explaining all of this. But I'm going to do this as efficiently as possible. So let me say that one more time. The cage blueprint is what we need. The cage blueprint is what we need to find the 5 capo locations or key shapes. The cage blueprint is found very simply by finding the 5 cage system shapes of the 1 chord of any key. The 1 chord of any key is the chord that has the name of the key. Okay? So let's say I was in the key of, you know what? I'm going to do this for the key of C first to just be easy. If I was in the key of C and I want to find the 5 capo locations and key shapes of the key of C, which I know we could do this in an open position, but we could also have other options. There's always 5 options of anything on the guitar. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find and form the cage blueprint of the key of C. This is how I do this. I'm going to start with the C shape. I'm going to start with C in the C shape. Now when I go through the cage system stuff, I'm going to make some weird looking bar chords. It's not about sound quality with this. You do not need to play these perfectly to be able to understand it. When it comes to studying the cage system, visualization is more important than sound quality, okay? So if I start with I'm in the key of C and I want to find the 5 capo locations of the key of C, which means I need to form the cage blueprint of the key of C, which is the 5 cage system shapes of the C chord. This is how I do that. I'm going to start with the C chord in the C shape. Now, I also have an A shape that I can use. The A shape is going to look like this. And let me just show you what these shapes look like. The G shape looks like this. The E shape looks like this. And the D shape looks like this. Okay? If you've never seen that before, never seen the cage system or study that, I recommend looking at some of my videos on the cage system. I have a really good video course called the Cage System Crash Course, or if you want to just take a one-on-one lesson with me, we can get it through in about 15 minutes, okay? But I'm going to start with C in the C shape. Now here's how I form the cage blueprint or connect the 5 cage system shapes of any chord or of any key. Start with the C in the C shape. This is what I refer to as the furthest fret rule. I'm going to go to the furthest fret of this shape, which would be the 3rd fret. That is where I'm going to place the index finger bar for the next shape, and we're going to go in the cycle of C, A, G, E, D. Everything is going to be in a cycle. It's a cyclical system. C, A, G, E, D, C, A, G, E, D, on and on and on. The guitar fretboard is actually cyclical, and I'll explain that here in a little bit. C in the C shape, go to the furthest fret. That's where the index finger bar is placed for the next shape, which is C in the A shape. Okay? Now, I'm going to go to, again, the furthest fret rule. Furthest fret is the 5th fret. That's where the index finger bar is placed for the next shape, which is C in the G shape, which can be played like that or like this, okay? I'm going to do that furthest fret rule again. The furthest fret now is the 8th fret. That's where the index finger bar is placed for the next shape, which is C in the E shape. I'm going to go to the furthest fret rule again. 10th fret, index finger bar for the next shape, which is C in the D shape. I have 5 shapes of the C chord. This is my caged blueprint of the key of C. It's not just the 5 shapes of the C chord, it's also the blueprint for the key of C. And we will talk a lot about this tomorrow, and I will have diagrams with everything. We're going to be plugging in scales to this. This is how the scale boxes are formed later on, okay? Now, what I've done here is I went through all 5 shapes of cage, C, A, G, E, D. Now you can keep going on, but if you want to go from the D shape back into the C shape, because again, it's a cyclical system, everything that we do on the guitar is cyclical, going from the D shape to the C shape, it's what I refer to as completing the cycle. And my cage system book, Simplifying the Cage System, explains all of this. I've actually created my own terminology and my own method of teaching the cage system, and this is what I refer to as completing the cycle, when you go from the D shape into the C shape again. The furthest fret rule will change by 1 fret now. So instead of going to the furthest fret, which would be the 13th fret, I'm going to go back by 1, which would now be the 12th fret. That's where the index finger bar is placed for C in the C shape, an octave higher, which is a little hard when you don't have a cutaway on a part of the guitar. But you can keep going on and on and on, okay? Kind of makes sense so far what I did, where I now have my 5 shapes of the C major chord. And remember how I described the cage blueprint? How I said it's the 5 cage system shapes of the 1 chord? Remember how I also described the term key shape? It's the shape of the 1 chord, and how there's 5 key shapes and 5 capo locations. So now I can take this cage blueprint, and anywhere my index finger bar is, that is now a capo location for the key that I'm in, okay? A capo location can also be no capo. So if one of these is open, it can still be a capo location. So here we go. I could have no capo. I could have capo 3, capo 5, capo 8, and capo 10. Whatever cage system shape you're forming is the shape of the 1 chord. That is the key shape you're in. So if I'm playing a song in the key of C, and this is what that PDF breaks down. So you don't have to do this every time. I'm giving you the PDF. But I'm the type of person where I have to get my hands dirty and figure out how this is actually working. But the PDF I was showing you will have all of this. And I'll show that to you again here in a little bit. So I've got, in the key of C, I can have no capo and I can play it in the key shape of C, where it's going to look like I'm in C, obviously. I can have capo 3 and play it in the key shape of A, where it's going to look like I'm in A. I can have capo 5 played in the key shape of G, where it's going to look like I'm in G. Capo 8 played in the key shape of E, where it's going to look like I'm in E. Capo 10, key shape of D, where it looks like I'm in the key of D. Let me show you this here real quick, and then I'm going to break this down for another key. So let's just do a 1, 4, 5, 6 chord, and I will break down these chord voicings as well. In the key of C, what's my 1 chord?
C.
Okay, what's my 4 chord?
F.
What's my 5 chord? And my minor 6 chord?
A minor.
What's the diminished 7th chord? Just kidding. It's B diminished. Yeah, I'm just kidding. We don't need that for this stuff. So just wanted to see if anybody did it. I'd say natural number system is 1 through 6 if you're playing worship music. If you ever do see a diminished chord, it's usually going to be chromatically in between a 1 and a 2, major 1, minor 2. So C sharp, diminished. It's usually an altered something. Okay, so usually you see them chromatically. You're going to see them in between a 1 and a 2 chord or a 5 and a 6 chord, usually for gospel music. If you're in the Christian music world, it's usually where you see it. But anyway, okay, so I've got in the key shape of C, no capo, 1, 4, 5, 6. Okay, now I'm going to do capo 3, play it as if it's an A in the key shape of A. It's going to look like I'm playing a 1, 4, 5, 6 in the key of A. 1, A, 4, D, 5, E, and 6 looks like a C, F sharp minor. Now, we're not going to do any bar chords here. This is eventually what it's going to look like. Those are still the same chords as C, F, G, A minor, right? Okay. The next one was the capo 5, key shape of G. My 1 is going to look like G. My 4 is going to look like C. My 5 is going to look like D. And my 6 is going to look like E minor. They're still the same chords, C, F, G, A minor. Okay. I can also do capo 8 and play it as if it's in the key shape of E, as if it's in E, I should say. Now, E is a little weird because the 1 would look like E. The 4 would look like A, but the 5 would look like a B, and the 6 would look like a C sharp minor. So I'm going to show you voicings where you don't need to do bars. This is eventually what it's going to look like. E, A, B, C sharp minor. Those are still a 1, 4, 5, 6 in the key of C, those same chords, okay? Then we're going to do capo 10, Now, unless you need a mandolin in your service, you don't need this, but I want to show you it's possible. I'm in the key shape of D. It's still the same chords in the key of C, but it's going to look like a 1, D, 4, G, 5, A, 6, B minor. And I'm going to show you how to do those without bars, okay? Kind of good so far? Yeah. Okay. So let me break down first the chord voicings that I'm going to do. These are on the tab, but I'll stop here for a second. Any questions on any of the capo location things so far? Yeah.
Okay, so I sing and play. That capo would suck.
The adjustable?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know this may be a later question.
Yeah.
It's a good capo.
So I love adjustable capos because you can adjust the tension on it. If you want a quick change, the only quick change capo I use is the G7 Nashville capo. Okay. It's like a Kaiser one, but it doesn't smash the living heck out of the guitar strings. Yeah, I'd never use those capos. G7 Nashville capo. It's the smoothest quick change capo, and there's no squeak with it. Yeah. I really do G7 for everything. These are Shub capos, which are fantastic. These are great. I do these when I'm recording a lot for acoustic guitar where I want the intonation right because you can adjust the tension. But yeah, that would suck if you're going to be playing and singing. Yes, so I love it. Yeah, any other questions on any of this before we move on to the voicings? And I'll do it for another key. Okay, I want to break down just the voicings, the chord voicings that I'm using so we don't have to use bar chords. So just for the sake of doing this, I'm going to do this in the open position. I'm big on voicings and how to make things sound a little bit better, okay? Especially in the worship world, when we think about chord voicings, we want to, and we have a lot of options with voicings and how to voice chords and how to stack notes on the guitar because we have 6 strings. And those strings are all stacked on top of each other in a very interesting way. But when it comes to voicings, the things that I really focus on is consistency of voices, consistency of notes between 2 chords, which I'll talk about here. I'll show you some examples, but also efficiency and direction. Or I guess you could say they're moving in a consistent direction. There's some voice leading to it. So I'm going to break down a 1, 4, 5, 6, just the shapes. Just think shapes here. I know I'm doing this in an open position and it's obviously in the key of C, but just the shapes. So 1, 4, 5, 6 chord in the key of C or key shape of C. My 1 chord of C is obviously C, my 4 chord of F, my 5 chord of G, my 6 chord of A minor. This is how I make this a little bit more interesting, and you also don't need a bar chord for the F. My 1 chord of C, I'm obviously just going to play like C. What I use probably 90% of the time I'm playing in the key of C for a 4 chord is I just take a C chord shape and I put my pinky down and I play a C suspended 4 chord, and that's what I use for the F, like every time, for the 4. For the 5 chord, I take this beautiful open shape and I just shift it up 2 frets. That's my G chord now. And I can use my thumb to mute the bass. And then for my minor 6 chord of A, I'm going to shift this up 2 more frets, but I'm going to move my index finger directionally up 1 string. You can even have an open A. So now my 1, 4, 5, 6, see how it's moving in the same direction? I love that. It's so beautiful. Another thing you can do for a G chord is do a C shape up there. So like for the, if you wanted that. You could play an F chord like this. It's kind of cool. So there's always other ways of doing this. I have courses on this. They're called cage shape voicings of key of C and key of G if you want to check that out. But anyway, isn't that beautiful? So my 1, 4, 5, 6 in the key of C is so much better. So I could do that anytime I have capo and playing in the key shape of C, which I will show you here in a little bit. Now, let's talk about the key shape of A, or what I would do if I'm like playing as if I'm in A or I'm in A. My 1 is A, my 4 is D, my 5 is E, my 6 is F sharp minor. We're going to get rid of that bar chord. So what I love doing in the key or key shape of A, these are all key or key shape, because I could do capo whatever, play it as if I'm in A. For the 1 chord, I like removing my ring finger and having an A suspended 2, voicing. I love that for 1. For the 4 chord, I also do a D suspended 2, where I remove the middle finger of my D chord. And then for the 5 chord of E, I can just keep that as it is. For the minor 6 chord of F sharp minor, I'm going to remove the bar and place my index finger on the 2nd fret of the G string. So now I've got an A, my 1, 4, 5 for the E, and then the minor 6 of F sharp minor. And you can see the consistency of voices, the consistency of notes. The high E and B string are open for almost all of the chords. That way you have consistency throughout. So that way you're not like herky-jerky in all these different directions. There's a smoothness. There's like this thread that's intertwining all of the chords. If you can start using other senses when you are playing your chords, you're going to voice them better. Usually when we're playing guitar, we're only, and I should say this, not just your senses, but the imaginative aspect of your senses, if that makes sense. Meaning, or the imaginative utilization of your 5 senses. So usually when we're voicing things on the guitar, playing chords on the guitar, we just hear them and see where our fingers are. I want us to be able to visualize the sound. It's what I refer to as sonic visualization. So I want to hear things that are consistent. I want to hear it moving in this direction. Not just seeing it physically, but can I see it with my the sonic visualization of it? Can I sense that? Can I feel the texture of it? Can I feel the texture of this A, D, and E now differently? That open high E every time, it's creating this texture. It's like this tapestry of sounds. So it's like this imaginative utilization of my sense of touch. So these different things, if you can start tapping into it, you're going to be a much more creative guitar player. So that's the key or key shape of A. Here's the key or key shape of G, which I'm sure this is what most people shoot for if they are using a capo. They want to play as if they're in G. My 1 chord of G, my 4 chord of C or C9, my 5 chord of D, my 6 chord of E minor. Those are fine. Those are great. There's already a lot of consistency with the voices there, but let's think about moving it in an efficient direction as well. So my 1 chord of G, my 4 chord of C is great here or here. My 5 chord of D, I'm going to take this C shape and move it up by 2 frets. I can even do that. My minor 6 chord of E minor, I'm still going to use this C shape, but I have to flat that third to make it minor. So it's going to end up being ring finger on 7, index on 5, and I can have the pinky there for the high 5th of it. And I can also do a 1 chord here of G. So it's really beautiful. You can really hear how it's moving in that direction. Works for the key of G or the key shape of G. Now the key or key shape of E. This is usually the one that people don't dive into because they're thinking, well, the 5 and 6 chord is going to be a bar of B and C sharp, right? So this is one of the most beautiful ones. This comes in handy when you're in the key of F or G flat. I refuse to say F sharp because nobody wants to deal with an E sharp diminished 7 chord. It is so wrong. But so many genres are written by guitar players, and guitar players think sharps, but it's G flat. It's never F sharp unless you're playing like Debussy and you have to go from key of C sharp to key of F sharp. It's a different story. So what we're going to do here is there's 2 ways of doing this. There's one that will keep us efficiency of voices. There's another that will move us in a consistent direction. Consistent voices in the efficient direction. Here we go. The 1 chord of E, the 4 chord of A, the 5 chord of B, the 6 of C sharp minor. Let's do this without bars. What I'm going to do for the 1 chord of E, now I know I said no bars, but you can do a bar on the A and D string and put your pinky on the 4th fret of the G string. Or you can do 2 fingers on those 2nd frets. That's what I use for an E. For the A, the 4 chord, I'm just going to move my index finger directionally down 1 string. The 5 chord, I'm going to put the index finger directionally up 1 string and put the ring finger, it's basically a B power chord. Put the open strings. For C sharp minor, I'm going to invert the index and ring finger. So I've got a 1, a 4, a 5, and a minor 6 chord. These are the reckless love voicings. So if you play that in the key of whatever it's written in, A flat or whatever, let's do it. Let's say I was going to play it in G flat. I'm going to do capo 2 because it's a G flat and E shape. And it's really easy to playing. So it's a shame people are intimidated by the key shape of E because they're thinking, I don't want to play a B or a C sharp. But it's the most beautiful and honestly I think it's the easiest one out of all of them. What you can also do, you can take an E shape and just move it to any of your E shape bar chords and take the index finger off. So my 1 chord of E, my 4 chord of A, my 5 chord of B, my 6 chord of C sharp minor. I'm going to do what I did for F sharp minor, where I take the bar off and put it on the G string, that index finger. If you've ever heard the Kings of Leon song Fans, they use this. It's the best example of this voicing. And you can even go high. It's the, to me, I know it's not a worship song, I shouldn't be talking about that, but it's the, I think it's the worship. It's a great example of that, those voicings. So that's what you can do for the key of E. And then for the key of D, 1 would be D, 4 would be G, 5 would be A, 6 would be B minor. We're going to take the bars out and we're going to be very consistent with the voicings. For D, I'm going to play a D sus2. I love having a suspended 2 for a 1 chord. For the 4 chord of G, I'm going to keep this exactly the same as it is, but my middle finger is going to go on the root of G. That somehow now sounds like worship music. And then my 5 chord of A, I'm going to keep the ring finger where it is, consistency of voices, and put my 2 at my index and middle finger on the 2nd fret. It's basically an A suspended 4. And then my minor 6 chord of B minor, all I'm going to do is take this A suspended 4 and move my index finger directionally up by 1 string. Now technically, it's a B minor 7 with like an added an 11 because it's the 9, an 11 because it's the E. But now I've got no bar chord for that B minor. Makes sense so far? And so that the PDF that says New Voicings tab will give you a tablature explanation of all of these with finger positions, okay? Somebody give me a key you absolutely despise. You hate seeing it. What was that?
D flat.
D flat?
Yeah.
Okay, D flat. So you know what I'm going to do here? I'm going to, if I wanted to find my capo positions of D flat, I'm going to find the cage blueprint of D flat. I'm going to first find all 5 cage system shapes of the D flat chord. I'm going to find D flat in the C shape, which would be right here. Okay, now you don't have to play it, and on my my course page, my cage system book and everything, there's diagrams of how to do all of these. But all I did was take a C shape and move it up. This is D flat in the C shape. If you are interested in learning how to form these chords and find them, those cage system courses on my website are the best. I would say if you are going to get one, the cage system crash course gives you really everything you need for that. But here's D flat in the C shape, furthest fret D flat in the A shape, furthest fret D flat in the G shape, furthest fret D flat in the E shape, furthest fret D flat, D flat in the D shape. So I can do capo 1, play it as if it's in C. Capo 1, key shape of C. Capo 4, key shape of A. Capo 6, key shape of G. Capo 9, key shape of E. Capo 11, key shape of D. So let's do a 1, 4, 5, 6 chord progression in the key of D flat with our new voicings. Now you don't have to use all these voicings, but that's really beautiful. That's the key of D flat's never sounded so great, right? Okay, now remember capo 4, key shape of A. Simple, it's beautiful, it's easy to use. Then I was doing capo 6, key shape of G. What were we on? Capo 9, key shape of E. I'll do it this way because I'm going to run out of room. And then capo 11, key shape of D, just to show you it can happen. I'll do it with my, I'm going to do it, pretend my capo's the finger. Pretend my finger's the capo. Here we go. Okay, please pretend my capo's the finger and I'm just altering the finger position. 1, 4, 5, minor 6, the B minor. Just pretend the finger's the capo, okay? I need to start bringing a cutaway for this. Let's do another key. Let's do B flat, okay? I'm going to find the 5 cage system shapes of B flat. Now, this is where things might get a little interesting here. B flat in the C shape. B flat in the A shape, I'm gonna run out of room. So this is what you can do. This is what I refer to as my cyclical approach. I explained this in that cage system book, if you wanted to get that. But this is B flat in the C shape. My root of B flat is right here. I'm going to go furthest fret. Now this is B flat in the A shape. But I'm going to run out of room. So when you are forming your cage system shapes, you always want to start on the C shape so that you can really see the cyclical nature of where these shapes are on the guitar, especially if you're thinking about this cage blueprint stuff. Because a lot of people think cage system shapes, but let's start with B flat in the A shape. It's over here. But we have so many moving parts with music, so many moving parts. We have 12 keys, 15 theoretical keys we can play in. We have at least 6 diatonic chords we're playing in. There's a lot of different scales we can use here. So if we can keep a common denominator or a common thread and everything is always starting the same, there's less confusion later down the road. So if you always start with the C shape, the formula will stay the same every time. Because what did I say from the beginning? Formula and fluency versus forced memorization. So if we can have the formula stay the same and start the same, everything is much easier. The cage system is a great equalizer. When you are using the cage system lens to see everything through, every key is the same. Now I know different keys have different colors, different textures, different feels, different moods, different emotions, obviously. But there is no key that is more difficult to play in than another. There's obviously some advantages to some keys, but there is no disadvantage to a key. There's always opportunity, musical opportunity with every key. So when we are forming the 5 cage system shapes, here's the cage system, the C shape of B flat. If I go to the furthest fret and I place the bar down, when your index finger bar is on or past the 12th fret, you're going to take that shape down the octave. This is what I refer to as taking it down the octave or down the fretboard. The way that you do that is whatever fret that index finger bar is on, you subtract that fret number by 12. So if I have B flat in the C shape, and then B flat in the A shape is on bar fret 13, 13 minus 12 is 1, you're going to take that shape down to fret 1, where bar is on 1. There's my B flat in the A shape. Now I'm kind of where I need to be. So I had B flat in the C shape, B flat in the A shape, furthest fret, B flat in the G shape, furthest fret, B flat in the E shape, furthest fret, B flat in the D shape. So here's the 5 cage system shapes and here's the 5 capo locations and key shapes of the key of B flat. We could do capo 10, key shape of C. Capo 1, key shape of A. Capo 3, key shape of G. Now you're saying that's all I need to know, right? Capo 6, key shape of E. Capo 8, key shape of D. Okay? So let's do a one. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm wondering, what's your process for selecting which one to use?
Very, very good question. So I would first try to think, are there other acoustic guitars that I'm playing with? Okay? Because normally most people won't know all 5 shapes, so they'll play whatever's easiest. So if an acoustic guitarist is playing the B flat and they're doing capo 3 on G, I'm going to want to go up a little higher. If I see them go up higher, I'm going to go a little bit lower. I always want to serve the other musicians there and know my options. So I always say, if you can find 2 key shapes, and I tell students, just know the key shapes of G and C, because those are easy. And because those are spread out by a 5th, so those will always be spatial. So if someone is playing in the key of G, you can do key shape of C. If someone's playing in the key shape of G, you can do key shape of C, and it will be spaced out enough. So if you just at least know 2, you're fine. But that's really how I do it. Now, obviously, if I'm recording on a session or something, it's going to change a little bit. Okay? Perfect. Yeah, question?
You lost me why you started so high for B flat.
Okay, so I'm starting with the C shape.
Okay.
So B flat in the C shape is up here. That's why, and I'm always trying to start C, A, G, E, D.
Gotcha.
Okay? So again, I could do capo 10, key shape of C, capo 1, key shape of A, capo 3, key shape of G, capo 6, key shape of E, capo 8, key shape of D. So let's play a 1, 4, 5, 6 chord progression in this. Now, obviously, I'm probably going to rule out the key shape of C because it's way too high, but I just want you to see it can be done. I'm big on that. Okay. There we go. 1, 4, 5. I'll just do an A, normal A minor like that, but you can see it, okay? And then for the key shape of A, 1, 4, 5, minor 6. Key shape of G, this is where most people are going to want to live. Now you can play the normal open voicings as well, obviously. Okay, then capo 6, key shape of E. also do it the other way. If you wanted to do that. Then capo 8, key shape of D. 1, 4, 5, minor 6. Okay, there you go. So now in the key, if I'm playing a song in the key of B, no problem. We're good to go. If I have two other acoustic guitarists and they're playing down there, no problem. I can do that key shape of E. It's great. Now you will probably learn like pretty soon like what keys and key shapes work together. Like for the key of F, most people despise that. So I am either going to do like capo 5, play it as if it's in C, key shape of C, or capo 1, key shape of E is normally what I do. And then like same with like G flat, not F sharp. G flat, I do the same thing. I'll do capo 2 and play it as if it's an E, key shape of E. There's just different sweet spots for different keys, okay? But again, this is why I say the cage system is a great equalizer, because no key should feel like it's more difficult than another one. So what I'm gonna do here real quick, I'm gonna move over there and show you the breakdown of those charts, okay? If you don't wanna do the craziness of forming the cage blueprint, which I think is so fun, my love language is music theory. I think it is so much fun. Don't say that on a first date though, they will think you're very weird. So, anyway, this is the capo chart. This is basically everything that I was showing you, but it's in a PDF form. So the first column is any key that you can have in music, okay? This is key of C, D flat. I did put F sharp because I understand most people think of things in F sharp. But this is done chromatically. Here's every key. These are, the next columns are where you place the capo for any key shape you want to play in, okay? We need to be serving the song, feel in control. So if we're like, I want to play in the key shape of A, great, here's how you do that. So we were doing B flat, right? So if I was playing a song in the B flat, in the key of B flat, I can do capo 10, and I can play it in the key shape of C, as if it's in C. I can do capo 1, play it as if it's in the key shape of A, or key shape of A as if it's in A. Capo 3, play it in the key shape of G as if it's in G. Capo 6, play it in the key of E, key shape of E as if it's in E. Capo 8, play it in the key shape of D as if it's in D. Now you will find for the key of C, A, G, E, and D, you will have one option that is no capo, okay? So very beneficial, a lot better than you having to do all this stuff, right? Okay. Now, the next PDF here, if you go back to that page, and you click on New Voicings tab PDF, that will take you to this. Now I know I only showed you 1, 4, 5, 6, but I thought I'll give you all 6 diatonic chords. I'm saying 6 diatonic chords, even though I know we have the diminished 7, but 99.8% of worship music will not use the diminished 7. So we have, for the key shape, each of these rows are the key shapes. So for the key shape of C, here's what I did for C. It's just a C chord. I have the chord symbol and the Nashville number system up there. I have the tab of the chord, 32010 would be the tab of the C chord. Does that make sense? And then written diagonally with each finger position. So my ring finger is on 3, my middle finger is on fret 2, my index finger is on fret 1. I did not show you how to use the minor 2 and minor 3, but I put it in there in case you want to be doing that in a more beautiful way. Obviously, I can do an open position of a D minor chord, but this is more interesting. But this is what I did for that F chord, the 4 chord, 33010. I had the pinky finger on that 3. And then for the G chord, the 5 chord, I just moved that up 2 frets, and then here's what I had for the A minor. Now, you will notice for the key shape of E, I have both versions. The one that was very consistent with the voicings, and the other one was very efficient in the direction. So you've got those there. So take advantage of those. I will leave those links up on the landing page for probably the next week. So I would recommend downloading this as soon as you can.